and welcome everybody to CView. We are so happy to have you here with us. We have exciting news for today's show. Today we are having Seeking Divinity with Sati. And the topic of today's show is illusion versus reality. Join us, we are so happy that you are here. You are listening to us. You are replaying the episode. You are sending it out because these are good news. This is something important for everybody to follow and to know. This special episode featuring a brand new channel message from the guys. This morning, our host Sati received profound insight on the theme illusion versus reality, offering a fresh perspective and guidance. In addition to this exclusive message just for you that is listening to this episode, we are going to be taking calls from listening. We are going to be very selective on the number to provide a personal reading and sharing Sati's special gift. Sati's extraordinary abilities include spiritual coaching, energy healing, past life regression, helping individuals like you and I find clarity, healing, and empowerment. Don't miss this unique opportunity to hear the latest divine message and gain clarity on the illusions and the realities in your life. Tune in, call in, follow up, and there is more. For more information or to book a personal session with Sati outside of the show, please visit her website, seekingdivinity.com, or contact her on social media. The guides have let Sati know that today's information will be pivotal for her next show on September, and much will make sense then. Prepare to be enlightened and transformed on Seeking Divinity with Sati, and let's welcome host Sati to today's show. We are so happy to have you here with us in this July 5, 2024, where Sati, there's so much illusion and reality going on the world. Like, we don't really know what's real, what's illusion, what to believe, what to not. And even in our personal lives, I have just thought of that topic and how much we are not really sure about what we are getting, what we are seeing, what we are listening to. So I'm so glad that you are helping us with this very profound theme. Thank you.
Well, hello, Claudia, and hello, everybody who is joining in today. I'm really glad that you're here. And yeah, just a couple of quick things before we launch into the show. This was not really, I don't know if I would call it a channeled message. I mean, I'm kind of a stickler for those things. So please forgive me, Miss Claudia, because, I never want to contradict anything unnecessarily. But it's like, I woke up this morning and I had like this whole show in my mind, like it was already completed. That from that perspective, I call that dropped in information. But like 9/10 of it has to do with my life. So I don't know how I really want to classify that. You know what I'm saying? You'll see what I'm talking about as we go along. But I had to giggle when you use that word because, for me, when the channeled information comes in, it has nothing to do with me at all.
Yes, and it's just such an illusion and reality per se, because how much is them and how much is me? It's such I don't know, even in that topic, Sati, it's getting harder to distinguish them and I as everything. So just go ahead and share what is, and let us have our own opinion about, is it from the guides? Is it from Sati? Does it really matter?
Yeah, definitely. That's always your option to decide. Even when I say I know it's coming from the guides, it's always your option to think otherwise. And I think that's really a great point, Claudia. And, I think that sometimes it is a little challenging these days to really be able to decipher illusion from reality. And that there are some tools that we can keep in our back pocket to kind of help us out with that. And we'll go into one of them today, or a couple of them actually. But yeah, I welcome everybody to the show. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get started. I'd like to start by asking you guys just a couple of quick questions. And I'm actually going to ask you a lot of questions throughout this topic today, and mainly because asking questions is a great way to come closer to what is, to come closer to the truth. It's very Socraterian, and I think Socrates was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So which illusions do we suffer under as a species? Which ones as individuals? And how do we know that something's an illusion in the first place? Finally, should we even care? I think that these are good starter questions. If we as individuals are truly seeking, and I think those of you who tune into my show must surely be seeking, if we are actually attempting to use our brains and discernment in our everyday lives, then these questions should be pretty important, and fact-finding should be a daily mission. The question of illusions being something we quote-unquote suffer under as individuals is definitely one for you to ask yourself. Because most likely there are many who think we do indeed suffer because of illusions we hold as a species. But I really do think that's up to you to decide. But let's start by looking at the possibility that there may be many mutual illusions or misperceptions that exist across the board that maybe we think of as strictly our own, when in fact they're common to us all. For example, you all probably know I live in France, and when I moved here, I automatically assumed that the French deaf community used the same sign language as those in the U.S. As a preteen in middle school, I had learned sign language and was an aide in the hearing impaired classes at our school because I thought that I would work with the hearing impaired as an adult. And that idea isn't my reality any more than the idea that sign language exists above all foreign languages. But I guess that was my little happy illusion, that I could go into any country and be able to instantly speak with the hearing impaired, while in actuality, sign languages are not the same worldwide. Each country generally has its own native sign language, and some have more than one. While American Sign Language is based in French Sign Language, it turns out that they're not the same at all. I bring this up because maybe other people think the same as I once did. I mean, even if you're not interested in sign language, you see sign language being used many places, like in churches or on television, on trains, in streets. And me seeing it in other countries just kind of pushed me to wonder whether it really was a universal language. And so here's another question I could ask myself. Was I a fool to believe as I once did about American Sign Language? Or are we bigger fools to never question our beliefs, assumptions, and the hardcore, supposedly provable facts that we often put so much faith in? I'll leave that question up to you to answer also. And we'll move on to a final fact that I know everyone believes in, with the exception of maybe astronomers. Now, I like to fancy myself as an amateur astronomer, although I'm not. For almost 4 decades, I've studied everything I could get my hands on about astronomy. When I lived in the U.S., I also had a wonderful telescope that we'd pack into the car so my husband or grandkids and I could go out and look at the planets, the International Space Station, and other things. It was my plan to find every Messier deep sky object, and there's 110 of them. And anyone with a small or medium-sized telescope can find them. These are things like nebulas or galaxies, supernova remnants, globular clusters, and other things that Charles Messier, a French astronomer, as it turns out, once cataloged when he lived in Paris in the 1700s. I haven't found many of them yet, and I had to leave my telescope behind when we moved to France. So until I get another one, it's really kind of all but a dream. But hopefully you can see that I love astronomy and that I know a little something about it. And perhaps because of all my studies on the subject, what I discovered just a few short weeks ago really blew my mind. I actually thought I was misperceiving things initially, but, well, let me explain. The hubby and I were discussing the moon about a month ago, and I had a realization that sent my mind whirling. Then I looked it up in several places, starting with the web and ending with my favorite astronomer, Neil deGrasse Tyson, whom I've actually seen in concert, if I can say it that way, and who is as funny on stage as he is brilliant. I, totally love this guy. Anyway, Neil confirmed what my mind was suddenly struggling with, which is that a full moon cannot possibly affect humans physically by making us crazy or turning us into werewolves, etc. Mm-hmm. Like many people do, I initially thought that the moon affected the water in our bodies, especially at a full moon, thus making some of us into quote-unquote lunatics once per month for a couple of days all year round. And it simply isn't true on a scientific level. Let me tell you why. And it's actually quite simple. The moon does not change location by moving closer to us or farther away only when the moon is full. I'm going to repeat that. The moon does not change location by moving closer to us or farther away just when the moon is full, which it would have to do to accomplish mass lunacy. By the way, those measurements of closer or farther away are called perigee and apogee, and it simply doesn't happen as part of the full moon process. What also doesn't happen is a change in the light level that's projected onto the moon by the sun, meaning that a full moon is not dependent on stronger or weaker, lesser or greater light levels in any way. What does happen during the phases of the moon is that the amount of sunlight reflection that we see changes. On Earth, we have a day side and a night side, so we experience night and day. And day and nights governed by the rotation of the Earth. It's the same on the moon. From our perspective on Earth, as the moon rotates, it looks like the amount of sunlight that hits it changes each day, which is a mini myth because in actuality, it doesn't change at all. It only seems that way. Another way to think of it is that we see both the day side of the moon and the night side of the moon simultaneously when we see a half moon in the sky. So we see the dark half and the light half. It's the same for a quarter moon or a fingernail moon, as my family used to call it when we were kids. With the new moon, like we have tonight, we only see the dark side of the moon, not the side that's lit up by the sun. And in a full moon, we only see the side that is illuminated by the sun. Think about that for a moment. The amount of the sun's light hitting the moon doesn't change. Only our perception of it changes. Similarly, the phases of the moon don't bring the moon closer to us in space, which could affect the water in our bodies and maybe make us go a little cuckoo. It's simply about how much of the daylight side of the moon we see on any given day. So the illusion of the full moon making people crazy is just that, crazy. And yes, the moon does move closer to us and farther away during perigee and apogee, respectively, due to its orbit being elliptical, or not exactly a perfect circle. On average, the moon is roughly 383,000 miles away from the center of the Earth. And supermoons arise due to the slight shift that occurs during perigee when the moon does move closer to us, resulting in it looking much bigger than at other times. And that would be the ideal time scientifically for us to become cray-cray. To decipher if that's actually the case, we'd simply need to research whether most people went bonkers on November 14th, 2016, or on January 26th, 1948. Because on both of those dates, the moon was at its closest point to the Earth due to its larger cycle of perigee. Otherwise, smaller supermoons occur 3-4 times a year and can only occur when the moon comes within about 90% of its perigee. Okay, so I'm sure that's like way more than you wanted to know about this moon illusion thing, but hopefully it makes my point clear. How much reflected light we see on the moon isn't going to make us do crazy things any more than it would make my dog crazy by me pointing a flashlight at a tennis ball while turning and moving the tennis ball in a Mach orbit. My cat, yes, it might make her crazy, but not my dog. Yet for centuries, people have accepted this notion of a full moon being responsible for insanity and other things like higher birth rates. And this notion crosses country borders, religious divides, and is often touted in the news. Isn't that interesting? So, Miss Claudia, I'm going to take a couple of callers.
Okay, so we have a 216 area code and a 951 area code. And one that is 1111, because I would assume they are using PayPal. So which one do you want to go? 216 area code, 951, or a mystery call?
Well, I kind of like mysteries, as is obvious, especially considering that your show is Seaview 1111. So got to take that one first.
Okay, so let's hope that one answers. 1111, welcome to Seaview. Can I have your first name and where are you calling us from? Hello, 1111, can you hear us? Okay, so mystery man or woman is not answering. Let's go with 951 or 216.
Let's do 216.
216. Welcome to Seaview. Can I have your first name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Sharon from Ohio.
Hey, Sharon.
Hello. I'm usually working on Friday, but I have a vacation day. I've never been on the. Am I allowed to ask a question? What does it have to pertain to? Any kind of question?
You can ask any kind of question that you wish, but usually people ask personal questions because they want to take advantage of a free little mini reading. So, enjoy.
That's good. Okay, so I've been at my career, my job for 5 years. I love working. I work for a really good company. I'm trying to transition into another department. You know, I don't want to retire in the department I'm at. I'm not getting any younger. Do you feel me being able to succeed by the end of this year, posting for another position in a department? I did have an interview last week for another position. I just haven't heard back yet. Everybody's on vacation. What can you see? Do you need my birthday or anything?
No. I'm not casting charts. So, no, just hold on for 2 seconds and let me look at that for you, and I'll be right back.
Of course, no problem.
Okay, so first off, I have to say that you're a real hard worker. And as a real hard worker and somebody who tends to stay on top of their stuff, you have a great reputation in your company. That serves you really well right off the bat. The other thing that I want to say is that I believe that this job is yours. So it's not necessarily a question of if, although I need to tell you that it's going to come down to you and one other person. And then they're going to kind of shuffle back and forth and have you guys do other interviews while they make the decision on which person they want to choose, you or this other person. The question to me really is more about when, and let me explain why. You asked if you would have it, I don't remember, did you say within a year or by the end of the year? Which did you say? Do you remember?
Yeah, this year. This job I interviewed for, I would love to have it. The hours are what I want. The salary is what I want. And the job itself. But, you know, my recruiter was so...
But you said by the end of the year. So, okay, so going by that, by the end of the year, I'm going to say that it won't materialize until around October. And I'm going to tell you why. It looks like they're going to put a freeze on it. And they're going to put a freeze on it sometime in the middle of this process. So looking at it energetically, it seems to me like somewhere around the end of July or August timeframe, they're going to put a freeze on this, and then they'll come back to it in like middle or end of September. And then from that point on, it's going to be like you against this, let's say, against this other person, you and this other person, really head-to-head for this job. And I believe that it's going to be you that ends up getting the job. It is a head-to-head thing. So I just want to say that, but it feels to me like 98% you're going to get it. So there you go.
Wow, I wonder why they're putting a hold on it. Don't try and figure it out. Just keep learning and doing my job, what I do now, and just do it well. And just keep trying. That's all I can do.
Right, exactly. Right. No, companies sometimes freeze positions for inexplicable reasons. So, yeah, not a biggie. Don't worry when it happens.
Still, I have a great chance by the end of this year, I'll be in a new position.
Well, just remember that they won't really bring all of that around until October. So I don't know when you'll actually step into the position. But I do believe that by October you will know whether you have it or you don't. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for calling.
I want to listen to the other reading. So keep me on.
Oh, absolutely. You just listen to the radio show, no worries. And we're going to move on to the next caller. And thank you again for calling.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Sharon. Don't hang up, and you can continue listening. So we're going to go with 951-207. Welcome to Seaview. Can I have your first name and where are you calling us from? Caller 951-207. Can you hear us? I don't know where they are, so probably they have muted. Let me see if the other one, caller 11111, can you hear us? Okay, so we're going to go then to the chat room, and we have our friend Nuri. Remember, she has a question for you, Sati. She says, I'm ready to manifest new things in my life, but I want to have clarity as to how is it that I know where I can earn better money. I want to know that clarity and knowing that what I'm doing is the way that I'm doing the right thing, or where should I head?
Okay. I think that Nuri contacts us from Mexico, so I'm a little bit unsure of the question specifically, but let me see if I can work it out. How does she know when she's on the right track to creating more money in her life, I think is the question she wants to ask. Do you think that's right?
Yes, that's correct. Or where should she do it? Where should she dedicate her life to? And she's writing as we talk.
Very helpful. Good. Okay, so she's thinking not solely about money, then she's looking at like career options, correct?
So, Nuri, are you thinking about career options or what to do as your job, where to do? She's asking us what signals to where to move myself or where to dedicate myself.
Well,
in the job,
I don't know that she's going to fully like my answer. There's two things that come up with Nuri, with job situation. One has to do with finances, and it could easily be managing her own finances, although I feel like it's also helping others to manage theirs in some way. Maybe that's through bookkeeping or accounting, or maybe like financial management in actuality, in which case I believe she would probably need to do some kind of schooling. That's what I'm getting. The other thing that I get, which is like completely opposite, is really helping others who are sick and infirmed, people who are passing over or getting ready to pass. And here's the thing, both of those are kind of hard on her emotionally. It feels to me like part of her job this lifetime, if I can say it that way, as in soul development, is to work at really understanding how to control her emotions and her mind when she's working. Now, I'm not saying that she can't do that and that she doesn't do that. I'm just saying that it's like her soul is wanting her to really learn these lessons and to learn them very solidly and to become really balanced in that. And I'm going to tell you it's because of the very next lifetime that she's going into. That very next lifetime that she's going into is going to require those skills. So that's part of the reason why she's had to deal with a lot of emotional stuff this lifetime and has had a lot of upheaval and challenges to her emotions from other people and situations throughout her life. So I feel like these are two areas for her to look in. Now, she also asked the question, how does she know when she's on the right track, which is how I interpreted it. And I can tell you there's a couple of things. You feel an excitement in your stomach, in your heart area, when you think of those things or when you're actually pursuing them, like once you make the decision and you're pursuing them. And the closer you come to manifesting that, a little bit more of those butterflies or that energy in the heart, like that kind of begins to swell. And it's that feeling of the momentum that you have put out with your manifestation that is starting to really like come online, kick in. That's what people feel. So like when I go to do readings for people, I can feel the energy building right before I do the reading for them. And especially like with trance channeling, when I was doing the trance channeling all of the time, it was funny because, you know, I used to make jokes and say, well, you know, I have a guide hat today, or at the moment, so I'm not necessarily thinking clearly because the energy would be so intense that, you know, sometimes my mind just wasn't tracking very well or processing very well because it was busy doing other things on a nervous system level. And so she can gauge kind of how she's doing, whether she's coming closer to where she needs to be by how she feels. And maybe she doesn't feel it as butterflies or that heart expansion like some people do. Maybe she feels it as goosebumps, tingles on the arm or up the spine or on the back of her neck. A lot of people get that. Maybe she just feels it as excitement that's growing. But she needs to look back at those times when she was manifesting things, when everything was in alignment, and she was just about to get her dream or get what she was wanting and how she felt at that time, because invariably it will be the same time and again, and it'll just be like her little calling card that goes, yoo-hoo, guess what? You're almost there. And that's for everybody. That's not just for Nori. Tell her thank you for calling, and we will look forward to maybe speaking with her again in the future. And Claudia, I think that what I'm going to do is kind of continue on my way and see if any other callers call in.
Yeah, so when you're ready, we have Jennifer waiting for her question. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just going to be maybe 5 minutes, and then we'll take, Jennifer's call. I love that. Okay. All right, so back to what we were talking about. Tackling these harmless illusions like the moon or sign language is easy because really, when it comes down to it, you and I are not so invested in hanging on to these particular myths. Yes, my mind was blown with the whole moon thing, but mainly because I was like, I've studied astronomy for how long and I've never figured this out before? Holy crap. So it was my apparent insipidness that made my mind kind of flip out a bit, which brings me to another important point. What if we needed to continue to believe in X illusion? What if it provided us a benefit like hope? Or what if it somehow sustained us or validated us or made us feel important or defined us as a species or as an individual? Would we as easily let go of the notion, or would we hang on to the illusion for dear life? I've spoken many times about the importance of discernment and using such a wonderful tool to help determine truth from fiction, right from wrong, or to determine the correct course of action. Yet I've never spoken about being so invested in an illusion or something that we want that we simply refrain from using our ability to discern, or worse, our common sense. The good news is that this is totally within our control. The bad news is that sometimes we don't want that control, or don't want to lose the lifestyle or the image that has been built around it. And I honestly can't help anyone with that. If you have an integral illusion that you internally know will change your life and your world, should you stop believing in it, well then, odds are that you're going to hold on to that to the bitter end. And that's just one end of the spectrum. However, if you're like me On the other end of the spectrum, if you think that facts, provable science, and actual truth is far more important, that aligning yourself with what's real is part of your MO or your soul material, or that it's your energetic major function, then eventually you'll come across these pesky little illusions, and you'll have to learn to see through them, to give them the acid test, and then gracefully just let them slip away if they fall short. Actually, I think that the middle folks are the ones to have a harder time with this because they're not diehard illusioners or science nerds. While they can and do think for themselves, they would also come across facts that exist outside of their worldview, and they might not choose to delete those illusions, thus keeping themselves enslaved to their desires. These folks will someday need to make a hard decision on the occasion that something rocks their world enough to potentially change their mind about a thing. But then maybe that's not really the problem, because if something rocks your world enough to make you change your mind, then that deed's kind of already done, isn't it? What if it instead only rocks it enough to make you pause, or cause you to question yourself, or maybe to ask others about their opinions? How do you fight yourself and your conditioned or ingrained impulses enough to shift your mindset? I think this is the ultimate question of today's subject, isn't it? All right, let's take Jennifer, and then we'll finish up after we speak with her and maybe others who want to call in.
Yes, we're going to take Jennifer. I'm going to take 770's information. And okay, Jennifer, welcome to CVU.
Hi, I'm so sorry, Sati. I'm so happy to be here on your show, and I didn't know that I was connecting directly to speak with you. I just wanted you to know that I think that this topic is really wonderful right now, and especially your last point about people wanting to hold on to their illusions. So I'm going to hang up because you should take calls from other people. It's my first time here on your show, and I'm very pleased to be here, and I will for sure be back.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks for calling, Jennifer.
You're
I love
very
the singing
welcome.
in the background. That was awesome.
Yeah, we have a lot going on here in the house, as you can imagine. But thank you. I'll let you keep going because I'm sure you've got other callers too. But I look forward to listening all the way through. Thanks.
Okay, well, remember, you can ask a question if you wish before you go, since you have me. Not a big deal.
Well, then I'm going to say one thing. Then if I don't know how this works, but we have a very good friend, Robert, whose mother has had a health scare, and he is on his way to be with her. And if there is any message we can send, an energy we can send her way and his way to bring them together and then to have her heal very quickly, that would be amazing.
Well, that's a wonderful question. So, Miss Jennifer, I'm going to ask you to mute yourself if you don't mind, because I absolutely love the singing in the background, but it might make it hard for other people to hear. Now that I have your question, I'm going to definitely address it. Give me just a moment here while I tune in to Robert and his mother and see what's going on. Okay, so one of the things that I want to say about the mother is that she doesn't very often like to tell people that things aren't going well or aren't going right, or that she's having difficulty. My sense is that she kind of waits to the last moment to do that. And I kind of get the feeling like she just it's not about control. It's more like she just wants everything to be okay, and I'm not going to bother that person. I don't need to bother them. They're busy. I'm just going to wait and see what happens. And that's not always a good thing. And for her in particular, I want to say that one of the ways that he can help her, not for just now, but going forward, is to try to convince her, good luck with that, try to convince her to be more forthcoming with how she's feeling and, like, you know, maybe the not so good things that are happening, so that she keeps him apprised of the situation and how things are going, because this tendency could become more ingrained as she gets older, and that might not be so good as she continues to age. Let me just say it that way. It looks to me like falling down is going to be something that's going to kind of happen a little bit more frequently with her. And that's going to adversely affect her health. It's not like a self-punishment thing in any way, so it's not mental emotional. It is balance. And it feels to me like there could be some issue in her inner ear. I don't know much about what I'm about to say. I've recently heard about it, so I know like zilch about it. But I am learning that there's this thing in which there are like crystals, and I'm assuming that means like acid-based crystals, because we often will create acidic-based crystals in our bodies. And I'm thinking that's what it is, but anyway, I just heard it as crystals that develop in the ear. I think that's bizarre, and I'm sure it's not like the crystals that come out of the earth, but there you go. Anyway, oftentimes we'll mess around with people's inner ear or their balance. There could be a lot of pressure on her inner ears. I wouldn't be surprised about that. So like any of these things, that needs to be checked out first and foremost. It also comes across that it would be really, really good for her to have a private tutor or teacher who would come to her house or who would be nearby that would help her practice balance, physical balance, in a very safe way so that she can become better at her physical balance. These are things that she can develop, but it's going to take time. My concern is that there is something with the inner ear. So what I'm going to say is that God bless her. He can totally support her in these ways by giving her suggestions and ideas. He can always obviously go to her. It may take a while, but, you know, I don't see that going to be necessary for him to go frequently. What needs to happen is he needs to set up somebody who is going to be able to kind of like take care of her in his absence on occasion when things like this go awry, because unfortunately I do feel like it's going to happen more. I hope that answers your question. It was a fabulous question, and Jennifer, for a new-time caller, you did a great job. Good luck to Robert, and thank you, Jennifer, for calling and asking a question on someone else's behalf. I think that's awesome.
And thank you, Jennifer. Now we have Pennsylvania, we have Georgia. Where do you want to go?
You said Pennsylvania. Let's do that one.
Okay, so Kayla from Pennsylvania.
Hi.
Hey, Kayla.
Hi, this is my first time calling in. So I'm not really sure what kind of questions you do, but I was just looking on your site, and I was wondering if you could tell me anything about my past lives.
Absolutely. I love that. That's like one of my favorite subjects. So give me just a minute to look at things for you, Kayla.
Thank you.
So it feels to me like money is a question this lifetime, and in a last lifetime, it looks like four lifetimes ago, that was not the deal at all. That money was very easily created, that you even were given it many, many times in many, many different ways, and that, like, pretty much like the genie, you could snap your fingers and money would appear. Obviously, that's not the case now. Wish it was the case now.
Oh, I wish.
And it's not that you used up. It's not that you used up all those coupons and now you don't have them anymore either. It's just that in that lifetime, it was all about having. And in this time, it's more about learning how to work with what you have. And there's a huge difference between that, right? So when you have something and you don't have to worry about it, it can come and go like the wind, and it doesn't really matter because you're good. But in this lifetime now, learning to make the most of what you have, really being able to use it wisely, figuring out monetary strategies that'll help you increase what you have so that you can gain money passively as well as through work, is really going to be a major focus for this lifetime, and one that would draw in the energy from that last lifetime and enable you to create greater balance so that next time this isn't even a question. It's not about whether you have it or whether you don't have it. It's about having it when you need it, using it how you need to use it, and moving on. So it's not an issue. You can deal with other things then.
Right, I understand. I totally understand what you're saying.
Excellent. I'm so happy to hear that, Kayla.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Matt?
Yes.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much
for calling. And I love that. Oh, you're welcome. I love, Claudia, that we are having like all of these first-time callers. Every radio show is like that, isn't it? There's always a theme. It's a crack-up.
Yeah. So now you want to go to Georgia?
Sure. I love Georgia.
Okay, Maddie, welcome.
Hi. I love Georgia. Hi. How are you?
I'm great.
Hello?
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm great.
Good.
How are you?
Yeah, good. I don't have a specific question. I would just like to pretty much tell me what I need to know. I mean, what spirit guides want me to know at the present.
Wonderful. I love that.
Yeah.
Give me just a moment.
You. Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, the word renewal is what is coming to me. This is about revitalization. This is not just revitalization of your person, your physical being, or your mental or your emotional self or your spiritual understandings. It is also revitalization, renewal of like money and of things that you hold of value. It's like really re-energizing a whole lot of things in your life that have either kind of like fallen by the wayside or that you feel like you no longer really needed to put so much focus into. And I want to say that this is cyclical. And if you look in your life, like over the course of your life so far, you'll find that every so often you've kind of had to do this. And it's it's almost like, you're getting up that hill, and at the, as you near the top of the hill, kind of like the engine starts sputtering and you start kind of like running low on energy. And so it's also about doing certain practices that help you to revitalize your spirit, your energy, and your physical being. So looking at that and saying, okay, cyclically, I have to keep like every so often revitalizing everything, renewing everything, maybe even sometimes starting from scratch, or in some ways starting over. And knowing that I'm coming into that now and having done it before, how do I want to proceed? That's like the question of the hour for you. How do I want to proceed? What things do I really need to keep in my life? What things do I need to get rid of so I can move forward more freely and put my energy where it really needs to go, instead of having my energy being sent out in a bunch of different directions and kind of then getting diffused because of that. So like, where do I really need to focus things? That's all under the heading of renewal and revitalization. How does that feel?
That feels good. And that is with people also, get rid of some people.
Yeah, it does work that way sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly how I've been feeling. A renewal, revitalizing, and get it going for me, and don't get involved or try to help others, because I realize that they don't really appreciate it.
Well, I'm going to say something on that. You can do that, but it's like all about timing. If you are in a revitalization cycle where you need to restore yourself, then you don't have a whole lot to give to others, and whether what you're doing is helping them or not might not be able to be so clear to you, right? So it's more about like waiting until spring in 2025, when I see that this revitalization has already occurred and you're back feeling like 100% and you're good to go and everything is chugging along like it should, when you have more energy that you can expend on this. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. It really does, yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Wow.
Oh, good.
Amazing. Just amazing. Wow. Mhm.
Well, thank you for calling, Matty.
I thank you so much for yes, thank you for calling. And again, that was another first-time caller. I love it. Ms. Claudia, yes. I just have a few other things that I want to say to conclude our topic for today. So let's do that, and then we'll see if we have anybody left over that we need to talk to. Okay? Does that sound good?
Sounds perfect.
Okay. So at the start of our time today, I posed the question if we should even care whether we live in illusion. Like, do you want the red pill or the blue one? From the Matrix, of course. Live in La La Land or the real world? And of course, that's entirely your choice. Because on an evolutionary scale, it may take thousands of lifetimes to work out this one simple question of whether you want to live in illusion or reality. So that's your out. It doesn't have to happen today, because you have plenty of lifetimes in which to accomplish this task. Then again, do you want to take thousands of lifetimes to work out just this one important question? Of course, if you're on the fence and you think that the issues we collectively are facing in the world are enough to force you off that fence, then the truth is that you'll have to start examining what you think, why you think it, and if it's been conditioned by yourself or others, and whether it's important enough to let it rock your world into personal change. Heck, maybe society is reinforcing your illusion through the media or advertisements. Remember when we were all told every day that cigarettes taste good and our doctor recommended? What are the lengths to which the media will go in order to capture and maintain a generational audience? Would they tell and retell a lie only to agree to pay $787 million in a settlement against Dominion voting systems just to justify that lie, like Fox News did when selling their election fraud scheme? They took a huge risk and lost an enormous amount of money just to get us to believe. It's all part of the game of creating and maintaining illusion in and around us every day. So you'll have to apply the acid test, that juice of discernment, and then let the universe show you the way. And if you choose that path, just remember Jim Carrey in Bruce Almighty when you do. His scene where he's telling God to give him a sign, and in answer, a truck full of various traffic signs pulls out in front of him, causing him to swerve and get pissy, thus missing the point entirely, makes me laugh every time, because that's exactly how it happens when you sincerely ask the universe and it replies, but you can't or don't want to see the reply. And yes, I'm saying that the universe replies during a topic on reality and illusion, because honestly, I did the acid test with the universe 40 years ago, and I still do it every day. So when the universe or my guides speak to me, I listen, because I know that I actually experience their inexplicable presence in my life many times per day. But you can decide how you want to play this game for yourself, and then redecide that very question and all of these questions over and over until you find your place, your alignment in the energetic reality that's extending from your soul. Then see what happens. Let the results of that choice show you its validity or not, based on what actually is. All right, Claudia, that's it for today, honey. Do we have anybody that was left hanging online that, because they were so patient, I should actually speak with?
No, we did all of them. We had people listening, but not with questions. And so you did a great job. So a question for you from me. So we're talking about illusion and reality, and you just said, so it's pretty much our job to discern. But the illusion and reality, those two labels are not even real. Like whatever I think is illusion or whatever I call reality, it's an illusion in itself. So I'm sorry, I'm just getting very obscure. So everything that we live is a world of illusion, and I can believe that way.
Right.
And it might make me feel really good, or it might make me feel really bad. Or I can decide this is going to be my reality because it makes me feel good. When I do that, and according to what I feel good or feel bad, or what it makes sense, or when I can prove according to my patterns, am I also lying to myself into somehow that which I call real could also be an illusion?
So this is like a really, really important question. It's really important. As a metaphysical person, as a person who speaks with spirits, as a person who channels the masters, as a person who has come across many ghosts as a person who deals with the psychic reality, this is a really enormous question, because ultimately, from that high spiritual perspective, we create a reality every day. And whether that is reality or illusion is governed by where it takes us. You understand? So if we are in the right frame of mind and we are looking at facts and we're working with the real, I'm just going to call it that for a moment, working with the real, then everything should continue to flow along smoothly, not like you don't have any problems or ups and downs, but meaning that you steadfastly continue to get closer and closer to your goal. You're going in the right direction. And also there should be many, many things that validate the choices that you're making as you go along, or conversely, invalidate the choices that you're making as you go along. And it's really up to you as to whether to see that or not. Now, that's not the high spiritual. Now I've taken us back down to the practical, everyday reality that we have to live in order to, survive and get up in the morning and deal with the children and the job and the husband or whatever, the wife, the dog, or politics or whatever it is that we're dealing with, right? Mm-hmm. If we are living in a pie-in-the-sky reality that has no grounding, no way to be confirmed or denied, then that's not necessarily the real. It may make you happy, it may make you feel good, but it's not what I'm terming in capital letters, the real. If, however, you're honest with yourself and you choose to face what you're creating every day, and you realize that it really is you creating it, not that you're a victim or that somebody else is creating it on your behalf, that you are a co-creator in your reality with whomever it is you're with, and you deal with that honestly and ask yourself questions and honestly, sincerely accept the answers that come and then learn from them, you are not then living in illusion. Does that make sense?
It is. And guess what?
The real.
We have 3 people asking questions. Do you want to take one person more before we say goodbye?
Sure, we'll take one more. That sounds great.
Okay, so we have area code 571, area code 304, or area code 828. Which one do you want to go?
828.
Okay. Caller, welcome to CVU. Can I have your first name and where are you calling us from? Hello? Can you hear us?
How funny. This is
okay,
another synchronicity.
Yes. So let's go to 304-731. Welcome to CVU. Can I have your first name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Nicole. I'm calling from West Virginia.
Hey, Nicole. Thanks for calling today. How can I help you?
Yeah, I just got a question about my relationship. I was wondering, what are you picking up with my current relationship? His name's Donovan. Hello?
Oh, Sati?
Well, okay. Sorry, I was taking a peek, and I should have probably let you know that instead of just wandering off into the ethers. Sorry about that. So Oliver works a lot, and maybe there's some question around whether it's always work or if coming home late is something else. Then there's also this feeling of, it's like, I guess it goes along the lines of the show. Is it real? Is this live or is it Memorex? Is it truthful? Is it honest? And I get that it is. But I want to say that there's something else underneath this that's causing question. And that feels to me like it's been past experience of yours, and past experience that you don't necessarily want to repeat. So I think there's a bit of fear and a bit of concern that maybe you're not fully seeing things clearly. Does that make sense?
Yes.
To me, like, Oliver's being honest. And, to be honest with you, it would be a lot easier for me to say no. No, run, hide. But I think that it's kind of going to be something to face, something to kind of put yourself out on a limb for, and to just trust that you're going to learn out of this relationship exactly what you need to learn, which is 100% true. And I feel like, I think it's going to be okay, and I do think it's going to be a good relationship for you, but I think you need to kind of get past your past. That's how I'm going to say that.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, sweetie. I hope that helps you. Give us a call back. Let us know. And Claudia, I think that's it for today. We went quite over unusually, or usually, depending on the show you listen to. But I have so loved being able to work with everyone today. And I'm really thankful that the guides gave me the opportunity to speak on this subject today. And I hope you understand now why I was saying, Claudia, that, it's not really a channeled thing in the sense that it's a lot about me and my life and what I have learned from it. But there are a lot of questions and things that they did, information that they did drop in with it. So kind of a mixture.
Yes, I do. And everybody remember, Sati will be back in September. September 6th is her next appointment. Her next show is scheduled for September 6th, first Friday. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Sati, thank you, as always, for bringing information and all the love that you share in your show. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It really is. As they say here in France, avec grand plaisir. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a great week.